Welcome to the Power Hour. My good friend Rhea. Oh, I had the stream open in another tab and the audio was going crazy. Okay, so welcome. My friend Rhea is joining me for some quick topics for about like an hour. Um, if anyone would like an extra topic, you can throw in a super chat. You're not required to, and we could cover in the bonus section. But we have a few topics. We have like 3, 4 topics ready to go. We might go to good news of Twitter. I don't want to beat a dead horse with this topic, this main topic, but I do have new info from I wasn't expecting it because they were talking about the economy. Yeah, Bruce says hello. Everyone, please thumbs up the video. I really appreciate all you members and everyone that does engage with the live streams and gives that little like. If you're watching on the replay, watch on the say replay crew or leave a comment. That all helps, and I really appreciate anyone willing to do that. It means a lot. Yes. You just said that we miss Ray on panel. Yeah, we need to know what Ray. She's a busy lady though, so she's working hard and world traveler too. So that's
And new homeowner.
a new homeowner. Yes, that's a lot at once. But yeah, so we will take it when we can get it to have Rhea on. But you do like pop culture, and I do know you're very passionate about the movie theater. You know who I should get? I don't want to beat a dead horse with this topic, but I don't want to stray away. It's hard to know what to do on live streams because you're like, have I covered this too much? And Joe's very passionate about I love Joe's passion about the theater. I know Joe's passions. But I also think I might want to contact William on this too because he has a comic shop / theater. Now I don't know since you've been there, Rhea. I didn't think I was going to talk about William Sci-Fi Center, but how often does he show movies there, or is it just for special events, or is it like regular where you could buy a ticket, or I don't know. I'm gonna reach out to him.
So there's like three things. The theater in his shop is under reconstruction due to
Mm.
damages from heavy rain last
Oh,
year.
okay.
But he has another screening area that he's able to co-op from another business and show movies in. I actually went to his Lloyd Kaufman event last year and it was in that setup of a different area within the complex he's located in. And then he also sends customers with free tickets to go see new releases like Furiosa or Abigail or blah blah blah, whatever his partner studios will send him promotion tickets and he'll give them to his customers.
Okay. Do you know if he does like? I know he which is great. He works with promotions with the studios, but do you know if he like has like any day of the week just regular showings where someone could show up and buy a ticket, or is it just special showings as far as you know?
As far as I know, he has like a set amount of tickets that he gives away like within the premiere week, and he usually runs out because he's giving away to
Okay.
anyone who comes in. So yeah, like finite amount of tickets in the premiere week.
Okay, cool. All right, so this next, I'm not going to show the whole clip. I will put the link in the description in the clip out. Now this is from a very political channel, the Young Turks, and I don't want to go too political, but they do cover things that regardless, it's a bipartisan issue right now, and something with the economy and young people, and something that was very striking and very interesting on the clip they showed on this video. It was actually originally from The View. I'm not going to show it because I don't know if The View's going to copyright strike me or anything. Is there the View had a guest, and I stopped at 7:54 is where I wanted to talk about this guy knows a Hollywood insider, and the reason for the thumbnail and the title of the video is not hyperbolic. He says the execs at the top kind of know the writings on the wall, and we'll say it's not all bad news. It's just things change. That's kind of like what Brian was like. He's like, hey, I like entertainment, but things change. There's a boom of a lot of different technologies. It's very popular, and I just think that we're past the golden age of movies where where lots of movies do good, you know, lots of movies. I just don't think that's there. But in this clip, go check it out on the Young Turks. I'm not going to show the whole thing here, but he says this is one of the first generations where the younger generations are making less than their parents did. Like generations before, you had a family, the American dream. And this also, I think, is why some of the entertainment, if things are healthier for the younger generations financially, it seems like that's going to help all these other industries too. They have extra spending money because this is one of the first, unfortunately, it's one of the first things that people close their wallets or pinch their pennies on is pick and choose what entertainment they have. But that was really, I really think he might be right on that. And I wanted to kind of get your opinion there, Ray. I know you're a little bit younger, but some of these people just out of college, I really feel for them. I feel for the younger generations too, especially growing up the social media era. But it seems what he is suggesting is this is the first generation where the people that they're doing what they're supposed to. I'm not saying you have to go to college. They're going to college. They're getting all these loans, and the American dream isn't what he once used to be, where you might make more than your parents or grandparents. That these younger generations now, because the minimum wage hasn't been increased, and all these other factors, and everything's going up in costs. If you're not a homeowner, or if you're renting or anything, it's very difficult out there sometimes. He's suggesting this is the first generation that's not making more. They're making less than their parents. And that also is bleeding into, you know, video game companies are laying off, movie companies, a lot of these entertainment options, the workers in there, which I value entertainment workers. I put them right up there with all the other. I actually try my best to support the entertainment industry. But if you would, what's your initial thoughts on his suggestion there? Do you think there's any legitimacy to that claim? That's sort of the frustration that could be impacting the entertainment industries too. Is, you know, they're not as secure. These younger generations out of school, lots of loans, lots of debt, the American dream isn't as good as it used to be, where you could make more than your parents. You know, that was something that happened pretty consistently. If you go to college, you get your extra studying and your degrees, you might have a shot to make, you know, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess like I've been thinking about this and my opinion on it has kind of fluctuated over the last like maybe 2-3 years. Since, you know, we were at the peak of the pandemic and now we kind of, you know, are in this, you know, sort of wobbly period of trying to find our way into, you know, semi-normalcy, but it'll never be the same as before. So I guess like my point is that as the years have gone on and I've, you know, me personally, I have a lot of, you know, access to privilege and, you know, entertainment
Mhm.
like value and like, you know, ways to, you know, enjoy myself like, you know, with leisure activities. And although I'm in like, you know, like that position to do so, I feel like a lot of other younger folks, like maybe in their, you know, 20s and 30s, like me, have also been able to have access to similar amounts of leisure activities and hobbies and like, you know, collecting video games or like buying hobbies like toy collecting and you know, streaming services, even traveling too. So I think there is like a threshold of, yeah, there is like, you know, a huge gap in affordability of like certain things in leisure. Like maybe not everyone can travel as much as, you know, other folks or even buy a house or can rent a place on their own or afford to rent a place on their own. However, they make enough to be able to have like these little joys in life, you know, like being able to have like, you know, nice little treats, like, you know, maybe treating themselves to a movie or a nice meal or, you know, a new video game, even like a new console. So I guess like my point is that there are certain luxuries that are out of reach for a lot of younger folks, like in their 20s and 30s, who are maybe like postgraduates or just, you know, working professionals or in multi-job havers, but I do think that certain um, like I said, leisure activities are accessible to them. But yeah, to your point, I do agree that, it is a pick and choose. It's not like not everything is accessible. And sometimes you kind of have to make those concessions of like, do I want to see like a $30 movie that includes, maybe a popcorn or something, and then not including gas to get there and other things you do that day? Or do you want to spend that like, on something else, like a new game, for example? So I do think there are, decisions to be made there. Although you do have options. The options are there, but like not you can't have everything basically.
Okay, cool. I just keep thinking about also the biggest market for most companies is that you want to, the reason I brought this part into it, the market that you want to go to is in the younger demographics, because then those are growing, those are growing. The other generations that you've already have them, those are your, and then you have the diminishing returns after, but you want to get something that trends with the younger people. And I do feel that young people have a really hard time right now. I'm happy we're in my position enough with my job, but I really feel for those starting careers that have to deal with this, especially after. But let's get to this part. The other part of this video that was really fascinating was when the panelist was saying, now, if you notice, there the news media, independent sources, YouTubers are really strong competition for the CNNs, the Fox News. And I think that he's talking about an insider more about like news media, but I think it's across the board. And even I'll bring in George Lucas in this too with his recent comments, because here's some here's some news about it. George Lucas did not sell Star Wars because of the trolls. Like, because everyone's like, oh, gave him so much trouble after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and the prequels. Everyone was making fun of him. And he's actually very progressive minded on technologies when he was talking about like AI. He's like, it's inevitable. You have to either work with it. You're not going to get rid of it. You have to find a way to work with it. But what's very fascinating too is his comments on why one of the big reasons why he actually sold Star Wars. It's not because people didn't like what he was doing. All right, well, here's this part, and then we'll get to nicer topics here. But here's where he starts talking about, like, he mentions David Zaslav. So that's another interesting. David Zaslav and all those big executives like Bob Iger. Iger's back at Disney, but he's not going to be there for too long, I don't think. Ray, do you think Kathy Kennedy even, I consistently wanted her to move on so someone else would get a shot. But even if she decides to stay, I don't think she's going to be doing she's not going to be doing Star Wars forever. A lot of these really high paid executives at these companies, I kind of feel like they're only going to have so many years left doing their thing and then move on. And I think, let's hear what he says about the insider he has. Let's play this real quick.
Transference isn't so much to like our senior citizens. The transference of wealth is to people like David Zaslav, who run Warner Brothers, or to overly compensated CEOs of companies who underperform, even from the perspective of shareholders who own their stocks, and yet have these enormous salaries and pay packages and bonuses. So I'm not sure we should blame senior citizens. I think we should blame this.
He's responding to the other panelists, and they're saying senior citizens are taking up all the money, and the transfer of wealth is going from the young people that don't have a bright future and stability in their job and income. And so he's like, no, I'm blaming these high-powered executives, is what he's saying. Zaslav's not my favorite. I do think he is actually very innovative. For one, isn't this capitalism? Thanks, Bruce. I do actually think he's innovative for one thing, and I actually think the solution is, like, for example, like Xbox, Sony versus Xbox. I think break down the barriers of a box and just have them work together and release all their games on one next-gen platform, because now you're talking about, PC and Steam decks too, and then you'll sell more copies. I never was big on the console war. I like all the consoles. I want them all to succeed, and I'm tired of seeing all these small studios go under. Whereas if your games were on multiple platforms, so where I'm giving Zaslav credit is when the one thing he did that was very interesting was, besides stopping Batgirl and all the other things that we might be happy with, and Coyote versus Acme, which I'm not happy about. The thing that he did was he removed things from the Discovery Max platform and started licensing things out to Netflix again. And that's where you're seeing Batman on Amazon. You're seeing Justice League and DC movies on Netflix. And I think diversifying that is one of the best things he did, in the trends he did to help start helping the problems over at Warner Brothers. So I do give him credit for at least that. Do you think do you have issues with these big executives like Iger and Zaslav, or what's your thoughts on them? They're taking all the money and they're not they're suggesting they're not performing well.
I kind of fluctuate on my feelings for this too. I guess like in this present moment, I'm choosing to pick my battles realistically, our, frustration with how the current state of the movie industry is where it is now. Yeah, like we can be frustrated and, criticize them, but what exactly can we do as individuals and consumers do to, communicate our desire for change? And of course that's through our dollar, like to your point, a lot of folks are either unable to go to the theater, but I personally feel like they're choosing not to go patron these movies because it's not like a pivotal event or sort of buzzed topic, in my opinion, for a lot of the titles that have been coming out. Like we're probably in the minority because we're so in depth and talking about entertainment every day, but I can't speak to the general audience in the same way that maybe Furiosa wasn't on their radar as much as us, who have been talking about it forever. But my point is that to like for the executive part and being frustrated with them and their huge salaries, yes, like being internally frustrated with that is fine, and criticizing them, but I do feel like we as the consumers and customers, again, I want to reemphasize that we do have the ability to control where we spend our leisure dollar, or I guess like our quote unquote disposable income and things that we do for entertainment or fun. And I feel like that is more of a likely situation where the box office is more or less suffering because folks are just choosing not like to allocate their quote unquote
there's more choices more than ever
income, their disposable income somewhere else. And I do think buzz and popularity of certain topics in the current zeitgeist has a lot to do with that too.
I'm with you there. With it doesn't enter the pop culture zeitgeist of like social media worthy talking points. Like it could be a good movie, but if it's not I think that really does help. I think that's something that does help get movies really profitable, is like not necessarily have to be a meme like the Barbenheimer, but something that's very social media friendly talking, like you want to talk about, because there's some good movies that are like, wow, that was great, but there's not a lot to discuss. There's a lot movies that always have something to discuss, but really enter the social media sphere with a lot of talking points like Barbie and Oppenheimer and some of those other things. I think it really has to have that juice to get to profitability anymore. It has to have the social media angle for the younger generations, in my opinion. I really do think that.
Yeah. And I guess like when it comes to the higher exec, allocation of profits and payout and like just general salary just being so disproportionate to the bootstrap, laborers who are actually producing the content. Yeah, like, I totally agree with everyone that, it is, an issue there because of like the high turnover rate of labor there. So I do think that there is still an ongoing conversation there. And yeah, like I can see like, ongoing, discussions probably turning into another strike situation or negotiation on, sort of the labor union front. But yeah, I think that is a, going to be a long-term ongoing issue. But yeah, like going back to what I'm saying about the consumer dollar, even like, the strife of, the labor unions in the entertainment industry, it still comes down to us, with our money, whether we choose to, see a movie or not. And some of us, like, even like, I would say that even, I don't want to say like, like a random arbitrary number, but like me, for example, like, I have the option to choose between going to a movie or, buying a video game or even both. Like, I'm in a position where I can choose to do both, but I'm just the sense of urgency, I guess, for one or the other may not be there for me to really like, choose both, even though I have the ability to.
Mm-hmm. I also, we're pretty much with the hardcore. I think some of the movies I see is only because I know I'm going to talk to my friends about it. Like if I knew I wasn't going to have discussions, I probably wouldn't see half the movies I was going to see.
No, same. Yeah, exactly. Y'all talking about Furiosa kind of pushed me to go see it in the theater because it's such a visually driven movie. Although the narrative is also really great too. But yeah, part of it for me is being able to discuss it with friends. So if I didn't have this community to do that with, I probably would see even less movies than I already have beforehand.
And then you'd still have enough. I know sometimes I stress you out. I'm like, you need to watch this and this and this. Like, enough, Max, please. Don't pressure me into watching all this stuff. Brian does the same thing. He's like, stop it. Stop it. You're not at a loss for entertainment. You're not.
Yeah. I love this saying that you had.
Embarrassment of riches.
Yes, exactly. An embarrassment of riches.
It really is. Like, I still haven't watched I watched Furious. I still haven't watched X-Men 97 finale. And that's something I really want to see. I just haven't had a chance.
Same.
For sure. But here's the thing where he says executives, I mean, this is just one source. Okay. His source is saying his executive, well, you'll hear from his own words that he talked to. Yeah, it's not coming back to the way it was, and I'm going to retire. And I think that's very telling. And I think that a lot in the industry, which rightfully, a lot of them really deserve, they put a lot of, Kathy Kennedy put a lot of years in the entertainment. She deserves her chance. I still am critical of what she's done with Star Wars, but I think she's done some good things too. Like this Acolyte looks amazing to me. And that really only exists because of, what she did. This and Andor, which some of my favorite Star Wars. So she really has helped with that.
I do want to also kind of suggest that movies and TV shows aren't, the only way to generate revenue from these IPs. Like we're seeing expansions of theme parks, for example, which are the hugest generator of profit to be able to even like go to studios to produce these TV shows and films, because that gives them more. It drives more traffic to those parks because they can promote those. Like, with new attractions or, they're called cast members, I guess, the folks in costume who go around. So I think the underlying, incentive of, just simply creating content in general to, appeal to audiences that, maybe hit or miss, but it still gives them kind of like a litmus test of like, okay, what is going to, work if we were to implement, further expansions into the park? Because I'm a big park, fan. Like I think about it a lot in terms of like a business angle and also as a patron. So I do think there is opportunity there for Kathleen Kennedy to maybe shift her focus into more of like the consumer, the post production consumer end, where she has that, strength and business know-how to be able to continue to support Star Wars as a studio, or maybe like not in the studio angle, but more on like the business side, because I always felt that she would be like a great person to do that, and then leave the or not leave, but like kind of pivot the responsibilities for the creative side to Filoni and what was the other person who also Favreau and Filoni. Yeah, those are the two folks that I feel like a lot of folks feel should, you know, get the ball and you know, run with it for Star Wars. And I see that. And then Kathleen Kennedy, like I said, you know, can pivot more to the business side, where, you know, like the parks and the toys and, you know, the licensing and things like that. So that's my personal take.
Okay, cool. I want to respond to Chubby Titty Monster Productions. Go check out his stop motion stuff. He's been doing some really cool stuff on Instagram and YouTube. I want to stress this. It's not doom and gloom. It's not doom and gloom. We just got to realize where we're at. People seem to forget, because we've always had, like, some of us, like, I've always enjoyed home most of my life, at least most of my life. I've enjoyed home video options, VHS to DVD to Blu-ray. But if you think about before, like the VCR, this was exciting and new. Think about that. The VCR and home video was exciting and new at one point, like the iPad or the iPod was. So it's not the end of the world. We have new things now. It's no longer new and fresh. There's going to be bright spots, I think. There's always going to be content. It's just, I keep saying we were in the golden age of movies. Like, all movies did pretty good. There was very few bombs back in the day, in the 90s, the early 2000s. There were still some, but it's not like you're experiencing now. Because it was a well-oiled machine. You had all sorts of revenue spots. You know, you had to wait for it to get the blockbuster. You know, you didn't have all these things at your fingertips. You could watch a movie on your phone. If you went back to someone in the 90s, like, I could watch a movie on my phone, they'd be like, what? You know? So that's what I want to keep telling people is, and this isn't the first industry to change. Look about the record industry. Do people not make any records anymore? As far as I know, Taylor Swift is like selling amazingly, but it's not like the years where MTV was a thing. You know how many bands there were on MTV. That's what I'm saying. It's just the movie industry, in my opinion, just took longer to get where the other industries were. You know, news media is not as big as it used to be. Like the CNN's, Fox News, they still get a lot of viewerships, but they're not growing exponentially like they used to be. Music channels, they probably still exist, but you're not getting like music videos like crazy, like Total Request Live, like you did in the 90s and the early 2000s. And the record industry still exists, but not the amount of, I don't think the amount of content we got then for music, you know.
Like, to your point, I do think there are still, like, you know, those niche markets. Like, you know, I would love to collect vinyl if I had, like, you know, the space and interest to do that. And I know you're a big, you know, sort of supporter of, you know, maintaining these, you know, physical media, you know, whether it be like movies or music, because a lot of times that's, you know, more of like the higher fidelity way to enjoy this content. And sometimes it's basically the quote unquote set in stone version of those films that are otherwise going to be edited for content, you know, at the, you know, the discretion of the studio on any given platform for streaming or, you know, VOD. So I do see the significance there for preservation of history's sake. So I'm still kind of on the fence though, because my biggest thing is, historical preservation, but also accessibility. So getting access to these, you know, historically significant, you know, films like through AMC Plus or Turner Classic Movies Plus or whatever it's called, like that's really important. But I do kind of see an issue where, you know, curating that content in a certain way for modern audiences kind of defeats the purpose of that that media being historically relevant or, significant. So yeah, I do feel like there is that, sort of still to be determined discussion around how best to execute that.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. I just keep thinking about all the other parts of the entertainment industry that have changed, and this is just another one that's going through a change right now. You know, print media unfortunately is mostly gone. There still exists some magazines, but most of it's gone online. The record industry, it's more, besides the big sellers, it's more like singles on YouTube or Spotify. There's lots of examples of, and the video game industry is also going through a huge change right now, which it's never going to go away either, but I think that's probably another topic. I was going to ask you about the Switch 2 for later on.
Oh yeah, you brought up a lot of good points, and I don't want to deter the discussion too much more, but yeah.
No, I was just, because of Chubby Teddy's comment here, and props to Rhea for getting on, and I didn't know if we wanted to cover the hot topics tonight, so I started with a hot topic. It's probably going longer than I was expecting, but I'm just telling everyone, don't cry about it. You're still going to have your movies. It's just might not have as many, and the industry's probably going to go through some changes, just like all the other entertainment industries have. The record industry, magazines, news media, MTV unfortunately is pretty much gone, but there's still bright spots. You're just going to have to search for it too. You have to search for it, and that's where people like me and you, Rhea, and other influencers and movie talk and entertainment talk have to do a better job of highlighting, like Perp says, on stuff that doesn't get enough attention. You have to search for things more too. And the indie scene is on fire. That's a scene that's growing. The indie scene for both movies and start fan films and productions are starting to get better and better. That is a burgeoning thing too, which you could definitely look into and support. I know Ryan watch something on my phone does nothing for me, but some people do it. They grew up with it. I'm not saying they might not watch all movies on there, but they might catch a movie there.
Yeah, and I think that if we really look back at Star Wars and Star Trek, those stayed relevant because of that niche community being so fervently dedicated to it, and continuing to prove that those IPs, although they're they were more relevant in the past than they were currently, before they became big phenomenons that they are right now. My point is that those are fan driven IPs that proved that there is a viable not only recurring but also chance for growth there. So maybe to your point, Max, we're in this renaissance of analog media, like you and Ryan have mentioned in the chat, and we may see where there's a burgeoning desire for like I said, preservation of media in its high fidelity, true to form, manner of enjoying it. So I do see that that's a potential, area as well. If the community continues to prove that it wants this form of media and they're willing to pay for it, and there is an opportunity for more folks to jump on that boat as well.
Mm-hmm. We'll end this topic because I want to go on to more positive topics. But this is another good question from Chubby Teddy. Do you think studios should lower their budgets and focus on story at this point? I do think budgets should be lower. Make it easier on yourself. The budgets, the big blockbusters, the budgets were getting so exorbitant, and I'm not. We're going to the AI comment too. AI could probably help bring down budgets, but I don't want people to lose their jobs either. But it's a balance. But AI may actually help the movie industry too in the next few years. It really could, because these budgets are out of control. They're out of control. But I also think what anime really has solid is some of these stories, even like dramas or thrillers, do what anime does. Not everything has to be live action. Some stories could be, I would totally be pushing that. I would be totally saying, well, what kind of project would this be? And only, okay, the big budget blockbusters for certain movies that you're for like really a sure thing. I would examine other type of projects to tell the story. I would love that because look at Garfield. People are talking about how Furiosa and Garfield are not doing that great, but Garfield only had a $60 million budget. Yep. Mario was under $100 million. There's definitely room for animation. And I know that would get Ryan excited, animation to fill some of these spots too. Not everything. And I would love to see that with the, for example, with the superhero genre. People were saying that's on its way out and there's superhero fatigue. But look what Across the Spider-Verse did. It takes a long time, but I think those movies were made for decent lower budget as well. And look how great they do. Very profitable. Okay. But here's the last thing where I wanted to show the clip where he says the insider he spoke to said, no, it's over. It's not going to be like it was. And I thought people should see this. This is not, he didn't have any extra reason to bring that up. He's on a political channel, but he's saying, yeah, they're saying it's done. They're going to take their big salaries and move on and let the other younger generations figure it out. That's what he suggested.
Of control, as you touched on it, tax structure, but wages. We have just, it's slipped away from us. I was talking to a TV executive, a very high-ranking TV executive last weekend.
Very high-ranking TV executive.
And in Atlanta, and I said, is the business ever coming back? And I meant the media business. And before I could even finish the sentence, he went, no, it's never coming back. It's dead. It's never coming back. The wages are never coming back. I mean, he said, and in fact, I'm retiring in a couple of years. I'm done. And I just was like, I don't know. I already knew that, but hearing it from someone who's a part of that structure, they know it. The transference is happening right.
Okay, so that's the part of that I thought was very interesting. And I kind of think a lot of these Hollywood executives are around that age. They've made their money. They should make money for what they've done, but they kind of, I don't think it's going to get back to, I think they kind of know it's not going to get back to the boom it was. There's lots of different options now. I do think there is money to make in VOD streaming. I think you have to have a smart strategy to include everything, including physical media. There's still some money to be made there. You just have to be smart about it, So that's my final thoughts on it. I thought that was interesting. I do feel like the Bob Igers, the Zaslavs are going to make their money and move on. Bob Iger, if he starts turning it around a little bit, he's not going to stay there forever either, right? If he's, Disney's not going anywhere, but they've had a few hard years as well. I don't know. That's my thoughts. I think they're gonna cut loose and leave the young people to figure it out. Okay. George, is your arm okay? It's to help with my carpal tunnel. Yes. So many years of manually entering customers' account numbers on the phones. Okay, so let's get to a good news story. Let's talk about. Let me bring this up here. Oh, I thought I had it ready. Okay. I have this on Twitter at least. The news about Knives Out 3. Now, I didn't like The Glass Onion that much, but here's some casting. I'm actually very happy for Lindsay Lohan. I know she's had again, young talent that's gone through the Hollywood system. It's very hard to make it to an adulthood without having some trauma and issues. So I'm very happy she's kind of having a resurgence lately. They're talking about like Freaky Friday 2. And that actually, even though I'm hit or miss, Ryan Johnson's hit or miss for me personally, I do like some of the stuff he's done. I'm very happy that she is being considered for this project. It's just my initial thoughts. Rhea, what's your thoughts on Lindsay Lohan? And we'll go through the rest of the cast here.
I've been a lifelong fan of Lindsay Lohan ever since Parent Trap. I would love to see a sequel of that too. I think she is an amazing actress. Yeah, I do feel like, she has, had some traumatic experiences in the
Mhm.
entertainment industry, and it's unfortunate. We've kind of had she's been under a magnifying glass for her entire life, but I do love seeing her, in these um more noticeable, I don't know what the word is, but I love seeing her more, basically. So I'm really excited.
She's getting slightly bigger roles, and this could really be like the biggest comeback. Like, even depending on the role, or how, if this is accurate, if Ryan Johnson uses her, this could be a, you never know, she could get a award consideration for. You don't know, because it is people. The Academy likes Ryan. This is going to be the third one. So I do think this is going to be a big boost for her adult career. And they are talking about Freaky Friday 2 with Jamie Lee Curtis and her coming back. Yeah, but I know what you mean. Like, she's been around, but she's been, unfortunately, for a few years there, it's been really low budget stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, but it seems like her career's on the rise again, which I'm very happy about. Let me see here. Lindsay Lohan, Tom Hardy. I'm not a huge Tom Hardy fan. What are your thoughts on Tom Hardy, Rhea?
I really like him.
Okay.
His like, I'm not like the biggest expert on his work, but when I do see him on screen, I'm genuinely like, hey, yeah, it's that guy.
Yeah. Well, he looks like he's having a good time there. So that, honestly, though, even though I'm not a Tom Hardy fan, because I kind of called him overrated, because I don't hate him or anything. I'm not, no, I mean, she seems like a nice person. I just don't get why everyone raves about him. I think Ryan Johnson is the type of director that's going to get the best out of people in a different type of acting out of them. So I'm excited to see how Ryan Johnson, if this is accurate, uses both Tom Hardy and Lindsay Lohan, and if he can help improve their career and get a different performance out of them than they normally do. I think Ryan Johnson's the person to do that. All right, so let me bring up the actual article. I actually found it here on Joe Blow, and then we'll talk about the Switch, and then Furiosa will be the last thing. Okay, so here's some more. Now, again, I will say Glass Onion, I did not like that much, but I am still excited to see the third one. I'm hoping for the best for the third one. Wake Up Dead Man, Knives Out 3 names first co-stars. I think it's probably just going to go over. Let me see. Ryan Johnson announced he was making a third Knives Out movie. Wake Up Dead Man 2 cast members have already been announced. They're buzzy, fresh off his role in Challengers. That's the one that Perp keeps talking about. Josh O'Connor jumps into the latest whodunit, along with Priscilla, Civil War and Alien Romulus star Kaylee Spaney. So I didn't know that was going to be the star from Alien Romulus. That's cool, because that's another project I'm really looking forward to. So he really knows who to get. Ryan Johnson. He's good at casting, just like James Gunn. He gets the it talent for sure. Those are all projects that I'm looking. I still don't know. Did you see Challengers, or were you interested in that one? Everyone, some people are talking. It's just not my type of movie, honestly.
The cast wasn't, too drawing for me. I do love Zendaya, but I like her more as like an iconic, figure, rather than, as someone that I follow her work, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, she is. Yeah, she has a presence online, yes, and also at the red carpet and all these events for sure. Yes. Okay. Those are the first two. What's bound to be another star-studded cast. Expect the rest of the cast revealed soon. So they're just talking about that. They weren't even talking about Lindsay Lohan and Tom Hardy. Those are the next ones. But I'm really excited for this chat. Let us know if you're excited about Knives Out 3, and that is probably the way to get me back into the series. Is a very interesting cast. I'm trying to think about who was in the second one. Was that was Edward Norton, There was that pop singer that people were thinking about for Storm, Janae Monáe.
Mhm.
She was in there. I'm trying to think of the other people, but yeah, that's pretty much all the news, like the movie news that came out today. There's not a lot of movie news. So let's go to this next topic then, which is about, and I'm sure, please, Bruce, in the chat, help us out with this one. Let me see. Did I save it? I guess I hold on a second. I messed up. I didn't save the banner. Hold on. It's only gonna take a second, I promise.
I was debating getting a green screen, just like random idea. Like I love how other folks that I watch on stream have them, but yeah.
I like having a green screen
Yours
option,
it looks really good.
but I'm also gonna, I'm gonna be streamed back in my room, and I am now working on my game room. My wife, she convinced me to get the pool table out of the living room, so I'm gonna put it down.
You have a pool table? I forget if I even saw that.
No, that's a new. I convinced my wife to let me get it around Christmas time, and I built it, and it's air hockey, pool table, and ping pong.
Ooh.
And I was like, this is going to be awesome with my cassette tapes in there. And it's in the living. So I'm like, you know what? I should make a nice place in the basement. I put my new CRT down there, and I'm actually like, oh, this is the biggest room in the house. This part of the basement. So I'm going to make it really nice down there. I'm going to put exercise equipment there. But yes, Bruce, in the comments section, help us out, because you are a new Steam Deck owner and Rogue Ally owner, I think. So this is the next question. We know now the Wii U is one of my favorite consoles, but I know it wasn't a success. Did Nintendo wait too long for the Switch 2, Rhea? Did they wait too long to put it out there, to make announcements? Do you still think it's going to be as close to as strong as the Switch 1?
I have to sit up for this.
You have to see. Get prepared.
Yeah. So whenever this topic comes up, I feel like I'm in the minority saying Nintendo can ride out this generation of Switch for like the next 5-7 years if they really wanted to, because it's still the best-selling console. So they don't have any incentive to upgrade their hardware. So I understand that that's not not everyone wants to hear that, because they would like to, see the Switch upgrade to at least 1080 handheld, like that is more or less the lowest industry standard for the most accessible PC handheld. But on the business side, and just me being a biased Nintendo fan, I'm like, no, like, the OLED was, the biggest upgrade for me, because I prefer to play in handheld. So I think that them becoming like, the most consumer friendly option, as well as the strength of their brand as a legacy brand, and the just like the captive audience they have and the proprietary IPs that they have, it's like it doesn't really make any sense for them to be in a rush to upgrade, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I think they are in a Wii U situation again, because, and I actually think that the big three are in trouble altogether because of the popularity of the Steam Deck and the Rogue Ally. Now, Valve tried a console before, and it bombed when they had a box that looked like a Microsoft box and the controller, and you could get those on like heavily discounted. It completely bombed.
Oh yeah, and Amazon's version and Google's version. A lot of folks like collect that one, and gosh, there was one on Kickstarter as well that that also bombed. Do you know what it's called? I forget. I have to look it up, but yeah, like there was this series of business driven, indie game, platforms that try to have like their own console. So yeah, that was an era that, I kind of saw came and went.
Mhm. And then there is also another rumor that's been going around, the video game rumors that think about this, Rhea. I think it's extremely plausible. Microsoft hasn't had good press lately. They've acquired game studios, right?
Yeah.
With the success, and there's been rumors that they've been working on a handheld system. And I actually think Sony should consider a hybrid too. I think the Switch was as innovative as the iPhone. I really do, for video games. I think people want something. I think it's really that simple. Don't be locked to the box. Think outside the box. You want to be able to take your games with you. You want your games everywhere. You want to have options. And I think that has led to the success, because what did really Steam do that's really that innovative is they just copied the Switch with higher specs and a better experience,
I think to your point, though, PlayStation is kind of looking into this because they see that their legacy fans like you and I, we talk about, our fond memories of the PSP and how the PS Vita was, ahead of its time. And I think that they, see an opportunity with the Portal. I think was kind of, again, a litmus test to see how viable us as an audience are to have that option of being able to stream our games remotely from our console. And some folks have had a better experience than others, but in general, that's, still a relatively, well-selling device and option for current gen gamers to be able to play their games remotely. So I think that I've heard some buzz and rumors about them potentially exploring that option as well for mobile gaming, or like being able to play your games mobilely, the PlayStation games mobilely.
Well, here's what I heard, that Xbox may actually make a bid to actually buy Valve.
Yeah, totally.
So I could totally see that happening. That would be a game changer. And honestly, if they don't, yeah, they don't. I honestly think if Sony announced a PlayStation 6 and Xbox, whatever, 5, I don't know what, and they call it series. That's another thing. Another problem Xbox has is their branding is bad. X, Series X, 1X. It's really, after the 360, their branding got horrible, besides the other things. And Nintendo introduced a different product first, but they don't have that luxury now. And that's why I think even Nintendo is not going to be as successful as if it was during this era. They did something different. They struck while the iron was hot, and I applaud Nintendo for the Switch. I really don't think the reason the Switch was successful was really innovative new Nintendo IP. I really don't. I think it was because of the versatility of the console, even though I still hate the Joy-Cons. I mean, the Zelda game, the Mario game, they could have existed on any console. Yeah, the versatility there. But I do not think they are going to have that same success again, because there is a competitor. And I think I see many of my friends consistently moving on to these, handheld to dock hybrid platforms like the Steam Deck and the Rogue Ally, and those are starting to grow, whereas PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo are just they're still the PlayStation had a good year, but I don't think that they're going to be able to introduce another PlayStation 6 and have the success like they had for the PlayStation 5 either. I really don't. I think it's a big competitor. I think it's a huge factor in the gaming system right now, is those type of platforms. Sony made so much headway though this time, but they're still going to have some success. But I'm not like the PlayStation 5 again. I don't think. I think people were moving more into PC in these hybrid things more than ever before that I can remember. Do you see it as that? Have you considered the Steam Deck or the Rogue Ally or some type of system like that over?
Oh yeah.
I know you were considering Sony. Like, I might want to get a PlayStation. Okay, this is the litmus test for you, Rhea. At some point, you're like, yeah, I'd eventually like to get a PlayStation 5, right?
Yeah.
If you had the option, if we were going to say, Rhea, you can pick one, we'll just give it to you. Would you pick a Rogue Ally or a PlayStation 5 if you were just given it right now?
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Am I allowed to buy a PlayStation Portal?
With it?
Yeah.
Okay, a PlayStation 5 with a PlayStation 5 with a PlayStation Portal.
Yes.
Or Rogue Ally. Okay. All right, fine. Yes.
Yeah, I would go with the PS5 bundle with the Portal.
Okay. But that's significantly more expensive though.
But you said I'm being given that.
I know. Okay. But okay, now without that then what would it be? The Steam Deck without the Portal?
My money would go towards the Steam Deck. Yeah, the
Okay.
OLED Steam Deck. Yeah.
So that's actually your response is very revealing. So you want something with variety. You want options to be on even when you're in home because the Portal is still linked. The Portal you can't take in your car, right? Right.
Well,
So,
well, no, actually, I have seen where folks travel further distances and are still able to play their games. I have to find more examples, but I have seen on Twitter where folks, have been on vacation, for example, and don't have their console, but they're still able to stream. So there are still some capabilities that I do see some folks have more success with than others. So that piques my interest to want to try it myself.
well, you just sealed the deal for me. It just proves to me personally that the next console, you have to have solutions for people to take their games, at least not on the big TV, at least in your hand. It even better would be able to take it with you in the car or on a trip. Take your games with you, Yeah. So that's what I think you have to be thinking about this because the success of the Switch and the Steam Deck and the Rogue Ally. And yeah, but I think that's where we'll end that topic, and then we'll end with the Furiosa review. In the meantime, thank you so much, Bruce. Bruce gifted some memberships. Thank you for the support, Bruce. And just to give people heads up, I'm thinking about, collaborating with Bruce more often, early afternoons. We'll see when we both have more time. We'll see. Okay, so here is, and definitely check out the Kingdom of Nerds for sure. Okay. So, yay, Vince is back. Bruce gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. That dude, Vince, Xander J. So Vince is back. Mary Wilcox is back. The Briscoe 1234 and Mars 2 was gifted the membership. That really means a lot, Bruce. It really does help out the channel. Thank you so much for the support. And one of my best friends ever. He's like family. I talk to him more than my family on the phone. Well, you are family. You are family, Bruce. So thank you so much. Okay, so let's now talk about Furiosa. I guess we could do spoilers, right? We'll do spoilers at the end because, spoilers for Furiosa. I will say my initial thoughts. I'll just do my initial thoughts. You do your initial thoughts. This surpassed my expectations. I was not really looking forward. I mean, I was looking forward to another Mad Max Saga movie, but I was actually slightly disappointed with George Miller to do this story instead of moving forward or doing like Old Man Max with Mel Gibson. I know that's controversial, but I still want to see it because I love the old Mad Max movies. But I was shocked. I love this movie. I think I like it better than Fury Road. And I actually was really shocked that I like Anya Taylor-Joy story as Furiosa, and I was more attached to her Furiosa than Charlize Theron just because you get the whole backstory. And there is a lot of action. I don't know why people are like this. It's just not constant action. There was some amazing sequences in here. I don't know how George Miller does it. Like the action sequences keep building upon each other. They just go for a long time, and it's so innovative of what the things he thinks about driving. And these cars are like these trucks and these vehicles are driving at full speed, and all these action sequences they think of, it's like mind blowing of the, so amazed by George Miller. So that's my initial thoughts. Extremely surprised, surpassed my expectations. And man, did we need this movie. It leads right up the Fury Road. So I'm through the moon about this movie. That's my initial thoughts. Rhea.
Yeah, so I had to look up the actress's name. Alila Brown. That is the name of the young actress who played younger Furiosa. So I feel like she stole the movie, in my opinion. At first,
okay.
I was a little like, okay, yeah, how much are we going to focus on her
Yes,
leaving her village, and are we going to see any sort of like connecting endurance about her? Because I more or less saw her as like a gifted chosen one, and how is this child outsmarting and physically I guess like overcoming the adults around her. So there was like a threshold of believability that detached me from her a little bit. But as the movie went on, I was like, I love how much more time we're spending with her, because sometimes I feel like origin stories when characters are children, they go too fast, and I'm not able to really like pick up on any type of like cognizance of how they came to be as adults later on. So the fact that the movie spent like a good amount of time, I would say maybe like close to 1/3 or over like maybe like 2 chapters or so, I forget, of young
yeah, I was shocked. I was also shocked about that much too. Yes,
I loved it. And there was this period where her Alila Brown's portrayal of Furiosa, and then transitioning into Anya, it was so seamless. Usually it's really jarring when the younger version of a character goes into a more current era, or I guess in this case the next age group where she's in her 20s. At first I was like, okay, how are they going to pull this off? But because they picked an actress who looks so much like Anya, like, kind of like the big eyes and, some of the facial structures as well, like they really picked a good actress to do that. And I guess like my point is, not only was her character more endearing the more time that we spent with her, and the more empathy we built up with her, like, seeing like this whole range of emotions she was able to communicate. Her acting skills, in my opinion, were a little bit, they surpassed Anya's, because to me, I felt like Anya didn't really emote as much, and she didn't have as much, physical action, character acting, I guess, physically and emotion, being able to emote, and being able to read her body language outside of, just verbally explaining what happens.
With her, I was also shocked there was that much of her mother too. That her mother's stuff was cool as well.
Yeah, I agree. And we got a sense of the stakes that the village is willing to go through to protect it, being hidden from the rest of the world. Like, they'll literally sacrifice themselves to, protect others. And I think that was the case with the mom. And I was a little... I was wondering, like, if Furiosa would ever make it back to the village, or just, she would see that, she's so, I guess, quote unquote, indoctrinated to desert life that she no longer belongs to the village. So she'll choose to leave.
That's the shocking, and this is spoilers, so that's the shocking part too, is she never really gets back. And I think she chose not to.
Yeah.
She said, she became something different. And then she was like, really, one of the scenes, I was like, she was demanding her childhood and her mother back. That was intense, She's not going to get it back. Yeah, she's different. She's a different person now. And it leads right up to Fury Road, and she chose to do other things.
What did you think of Chris Hemsworth as Dementus?
I thought he looked silly in the trailers. He did a good job. Job. I still don't know about like the nose choice. It kind of like
same.
I'm just like, okay, I kind of got along with it for a while. I think they did it because he's so recognizable. I
Yeah.
think that's what part of the reason to help him and the audience think of him as a villain. I think that was, because he's such a likable like guy when you look at him. It's hard to think of as the villain, but he did a great job. And I was conflicted with him too, because he kind of seemed like he didn't want to be mean at some points. Like, did you get
Yeah.
that? Did you get that too at some weird points? Like, I got to remember this is the wasteland. I got to be different. I don't, you almost got to me, my heart or whatever. And then he also carries around a teddy bear from his children. So it's kind of like, this is the way you don't have any choice. You become something in the wasteland,
Yeah, I definitely agree. And to your point, I think that there was supposed to be some ambiguity in how you see him. Like, he's definitely an antagonist, but it's kind of like that weird gray area of like, okay, but is he a villain? So I think for like the sake of discussion in the movie, he's
Like
definitely an antagonist, but he's
yeah.
like, because you empathize with him
But if
to
he was
to a
just
degree,
straight
he's
up
not really a
villain,
villain.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if he was like just a straight up villain, he wouldn't like be like, look away when she was young and stuff and things like that, or I have to do this, I
Right.
actually think
Okay.
he was. I actually think he was contemplating in his head, I have to do this because I got to stay in charge and I got to provide for people in the wasteland.
Yeah, and like it's kind of weird because although we see him murder, like straight up, kill Furiosa's mom in front of her, he then chooses to adopt her, and then you kind of
Yeah,
see
and then he cared about her. He actually tried to protect her from Immortum Joe, and then Furiosa goes to Immortum Joe towards the end.
yeah,
So I
and
think he was trying to protect her from him, and then young Furiosa sold him out. It's like, no, he's not my father.
yeah, I kind of got flashbacks to Star-Lord getting adopted by what is it, the Ravengers, or I forget yeah,
With
the
Yondu.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in that one scene, did you think that he was trying to keep her for other reasons or to protect her?
I think okay, so I also got flashbacks to Rebel Moon where Korra was, adopted by that guy.
Yeah.
I forget his name, but I think there is kind of a sense of like, yeah, like this is a prodigy sort of like, adoption. They see they see an opportunity to continue their legacy through this younger person and build them up in their own image, if that makes sense. So it's more of an exercise in trying to create a little clone of themselves, but it's sort of like turning against them in a way.
Okay. Some other things, and we'll just talk about a few other things we talk about, and then we'll score it out of 10. The other things that was very interesting to me, if you are thinking this Furiosa is not going to have a Mad Max, spoilers, it kind of has a Proto Max. And then there's also somewhat of a cameo, but the character, if I was going to say one weak point, was how important that Furiosa seemed to be to Immortum Joe's Wasteland crew. Like there's some really creepy scenes with his sons where she escapes, and
Yeah.
then once she goes missing, they just stop talking about her or just forget about her. And then she goes with these what's his character's name that they start driving the truck together.
Oh
The
yeah, her
Praetorian.
mentor.
Yeah,
I've
he's
just been
like
calling him that.
he's kind of like he's like a proto Max, like sort of like Mad Max before Mad Max. And I don't did they have some like where there's starting to be some romantic things situation there, kind of? I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
even know I don't even know what age she was supposed to be, and that's confusing too. So I don't want to suggest there's something should be there, but I kind of feel like they kind of liked each other too, and they were going to go right off into the sunset and go back to her. And it is also interesting that she really cared about her mother and she wanted her mother back, but the thing that made her stay in the wasteland and that become her life is the loss of the Praetorian guy or whatever his name was. But I liked his character a lot. That was interesting. But that was the one the one thing I was like, they're just gonna forget about her. She was trapped with the other women, and then she escapes, and they're just gonna be like, whatever.
I was totally expecting a double cross with
Okay.
that guy. I was like,
Oh
they're
yeah,
totally setting it
I
up.
was thinking. Oh yeah, I was thinking potentially. Yeah, he might just be trying to find out also where her people were, because he did ask. Like, he was one of the ones that asked. I was like, really? Did you just do that? What is that? That's the scene where I was like, why did you just ask her that?
Yeah.
Because you seemed like a generally empathetic character in this horrible wasteland where there's not very many empathetic characters. And then he, you know, did you like his character?
No, I didn't care for him.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I think it's because I didn't really see any sort of realism in Furiosa being able to build a sort of like more, I don't know if the right word is like nurturing or more, sort of like sentimentality, I guess, with someone. Like, I really want it to, it's nice because it sort of humanizes her, but it's it wasn't like organic enough for me to believe that it would happen between them, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I would imagine he may, have sentimentality towards her, but maybe that wouldn't be something that she has throughout the movie. But then when she loses him, maybe she realizes like, oh yeah, this is like the one connection to humanity that I had left. So maybe she'll, have that connection once, she loses him. But I didn't expect her to have that throughout their whole, time spent together.
Okay. And one more plus. Think of one plus and one minus, Ray, while I give my one more plus. My one more plus was I see different factions of the wasteland in different areas portrayed better than any other Mad Max Saga movie, I think. Like, you have the bullet city, the oil, I forget what they're called, in each city, and then conflict within the war with there too. So that was more interesting, almost like, not on the level of Game of Thrones, but you have all these different little kingdoms come fighting against each other. And that was a plus for me seeing that. And Dementus's character, I thought Immortum Joe was just going to be like, his group was just going to be a cameo because he was in the Fury Road, but no, it's really fleshed out. And I like all the politics and the war against the different factions of the different cities. And one harvests bullets, one harvests oil, one harvests water. And that was very interesting. I really like how much they fleshed out the wasteland in this movie. I think it's done better than some of the other Mad Max movies.
Yeah, like, to your point, a plus I like is they really went deep into like the details of how factions are formed and how these, sort of like rogue factions, like Dementus's, crew, they were just, sort of, rebels, like not really belonging to any sort of given territory, I guess. Or so yeah, they're just, chaos incarnate, trying to, consume everything in their path, just like without true reason to just, integrate into society wherever, the different cities were at. So yeah, I kind of saw them as like just, without a motive, but also being able to get more into depth of like how those different cities function and how they're able to, keep normalcy and how they're able to, respond to like, these sort of like insurgences. So yeah, I really liked that detail a lot.
Okay, cool. Any minus that you think could have been done a little bit better? Anything you said that one character you weren't sold on. Anything else that you think could have been done a little bit better?
Yeah, as much as I love Anya Taylor-Joy's, she's so captivating
You're a
on
big
screen.
fan of her. Okay,
Yes, yeah, I adore her, screen presence. She, like I said, she's very captivating. She, to me, is, developing into a box office draw. Like, I'm more compelled to watch something if I see her in it. But I do get the sense of like, as captivating as she is on screen, she, to me, I haven't seen too much character acting from her. So she's amazing to look at, like, in my opinion, but yeah, I want to see more emphasis on facial expressions and physical movement and things like that. There were definitely scenes of that here in this movie. So we got a little taste of it. I just, I want more. So maybe like, that's a good thing because we may continue to see more from her. But yeah, I liked what I saw when she was doing those things. I just would have
That's
loved to see
another
more.
question I have though. Could they do a Furiosa 2? Because it really much leads right up to Fury Road. I guess they could. Like the ending, they start showing scenes from Fury Road, like
Yeah.
at the end credits. So I'm
Mhm.
like, do you think there could fit another one in between?
I do think so because I'm imagining that the Furiosa from Fury Road was maybe like in her 40s. So like I do think there's an opportunity to make a Furiosa movie with Anya Taylor-Joy, later in her, late 20s where she's currently at in real life and then into her 30s. So yeah, I think there's an opportunity to make at least two more with Anya Taylor-Joy
Okay.
and see her, further
Well,
develop into those character acting.
If it's any proof to all of you watching, I wanted Mad Max to come back. Now I think I would prefer Furiosa sequel. I really would. So with that, let's give our scores and then we'll end this power hour with my good friend Rhea. Check her out on X, where she's very positive on X. I don't see any negative activity there. You can have fun and be positive on social media. Check out her X if you want to follow what she's up to or retweeting, re-Xing, I guess, re-Xing people's channels and places she's been to or indie developers, things like that. Lots of things to check out. Thank you, Voltaire. Yeah, I've enjoyed this little experiment. I know Zeno, I see you in the chat. I haven't highlighted because I don't like your comments, Zeno. That's why. Because I like the change. I'll give a little bit behind the scenes. I would love to do this more hours than I would like to reduce I've said this consistently. My main job, reduce the hour sum and do like 2 streams a day. And now, do I want to do MME panels 2 times a day? No, I want to do something like this one time, like an hour and a half, and then do a big panel with all my friends. And this gives opportunity to get more from someone that has a lot to offer, like Rhea, like Bruce, like Voltaire. I'm hoping to get Blue Jay, DL. I'm hoping to go Joe. I want to do one-on-one with Joe. And I apologize, Joe. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to send him a message. I think there was some confusion because I know he's so passionate about this topic. And I did say I was going to have on a one-on-one. So I'm going to reach out to him. But I do want to get many people on. And it's a different experience. So let's get to our score. I'm saying 10 out of 10. I'm saying must see. I kind of want to watch it again in IMAX because I didn't see an IMAX. I went to my wife likes the recliner seats and she has Cinemark. She had Cinemark saved up where it was free because you roll over one ticket. It's the $10 version. Roll over one ticket. And then if you don't go see a few months, it's free. But I might want to, I enjoyed it just as much as Planet of the Apes. Some really great movies this year. I hope it has legs, this movie, and it does good in the second weekend. But I can't wait to watch this again. And this makes me really want to watch Fury Road again, too. So I loved it. 10 out of 10 exceeded my expectations, just like Planet of the Apes. And my fault, I will take the L on both because both those movies, I was like, I don't know if I want to see the, like, I'm not against them. Is another Planet of the Apes movie and another like different movie that's focusing on a different character instead of Mad Max in this universe. And that's why they surpassed my expectations so much because I wasn't expecting, but blown away. And I'm not going to question George Miller again. When George Miller says he wants a new project, I'm not going to be like, oh, I wish you would do something different. No, not anymore. So 10 out of 10. Rhea, what's your score?
Yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. And I think I'm in the same boat as you. I went and saw it in standard definition, and I think I did myself a disservice because the
sound's amazing too. The sound too.
Yeah, definitely. And it was one of those films that I'm like, okay, I'm going to see it because my friends are, hyping it up and I want to talk about it with them. But me personally, I enjoyed it for my own, enrichment. And I think to further, absorb the world building and more of an appreciation for Anya's acting, because I do feel like I'm selling her short in my review. So seeing it in IMAX and how impactful it would be there, I think maybe that would improve my score.
I actually was okay. I hear what you're saying about Anya's performance, especially being a fan, but her performance exceeded my expectations. And I think it's more because by the time you see Anya Taylor-Joy, she's a different Furiosa already. Like, she's kind of much on that new path. Whereas you really give a lot of accolades to the young actress that played young Furiosa. And there's a lot of nuance in her performance because she was still a child and she was still changing. Whereas once Anya Taylor-Joy's there, she is on the path to being Furiosa. I'm pretty sure. And then I do know people were having concerns about the amount of dialogue or the lack of dialogue she might have, but her eyes and the way she emoted from her eyes and the stares she gave were very intense and very, really cool for her character for me. But I understand your concerns there. You would like potentially to see more range from her role. But I think that's might have just been a choice because of where she was at in the story. But I do want to see more range too. But if you look at Charlize Theron, Furiosa, she's pretty much the same too to become that character. But yeah, great score though, 8 out of 10 and 10 out of 10. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for the support, except Zeno. I'm going to call you Zeno. You're still my family. It's just whatever. And I hope everyone enjoys the movies this summer and streaming, and maybe we'll end on what you're looking for next. I am so on board for the Acolyte. When is that coming out? When's the Acolyte coming out? I actually think I'm going to be away when it comes out. Oh no, June 4th is next Tuesday. Is it June 4th? Let me see. What's your most anticipated thing coming out? Is it the Acolyte 2? Or what?
Maxine. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's right. I have to do some homework because potentially we might see that with my wife. I don't think my cousin would want to see that movie. He's not really in the horror, but again, because of Perp and a lot of friends there, and I've made a conscious decision to stop dwelling on things I don't like anymore and try new things. And horror is a genre that I'm trying to get into. I don't think I'll ever be full-blown horror fan, but I really like how much buzz gets from Maxine in that trilogy. So I'm going to do my homework and go back and watch the first two. And my wife didn't see them either, and she loves horror. I was like, "Did you see that?" And she's like, "No." So that's something we could maybe I'll go to the Jack's Rental and see if he has the first. What do they call Pearl? And what
Pearl
else?
and X.
Pearl and X. Okay. So I do want to prepare for Maxine so I could see it. Horror is the best genre, essentially. Have you always liked horror movies or only recently?
Only
Right.
recently. My sister is really big into horror, like the character-driven ones, like Chucky and Halloween. So I got into it because of her whenever I would visit her. And I was like, this genre is really, really good. So I would just, basically I got into it recently because of her.
Cool. And Ryan Hartwell, again, you could still enjoy entertainment even when the economy's struggling, and here's a great option. And you know what? Libraries need supported too. My sister, actually, she's a teacher. She also got her librarian license, and I was so happy for her. So yeah, go get books, but libraries are a good option. Although me personally, I cannot stand scratch discs. So that's why I try to stay into the library. Seems to have the most beat up movies, but still give it a shot. With your library card. Ryan says, I just checked out X and Pearl at the library. I'm going to watch them tonight. Let me know how it is, Ryan. And let me know if your discs were okay.
Yeah. And some libraries check out games too.
Yes. So definitely there are options for everyone. Go renew your library card and do what you can to enjoy yourself, Okay. So I think that's where we'll head out. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.